Welcome to YOUCANIC. Today on YOUCANIC we got a 2013 Ford Fusion here, and we're going to go over how you replace the valve cover gasket. So there's a gasket between this cover, right, it's the valve cover, and the cylinder block or cylinder head itself, right? And we've developed a leak over time, and there's a lot of oil that has leaked down the back side of the engine. And so we're going to go over how you'd replace that. Number one, you need to disconnect all of these electric lines to the cylinder, to the coil packs and not. So we'll start with that. So this one you got to pull back and pull off. This right here is the solenoid actuator. And so if you need to replace this, you have to take this valve cover off, and so you'll also have to get a new valve cover gasket. So I just undid the two connections to the ECU and dragging this stuff back to give us some extra space. Make sure you undo the coil pack cables. And then undo the connector to the cam position sensor. And there's the connector down in there. We want to undo. We got to remove this boot and then press that clip in to be able to get it to release. So this has, you just got to reach down on the bottom, and this is a breather tube. You just got to pull that to be able to unlock it. Set that to the side. That should be all of the stuff that we really need to remove to get us easy access there. So now you're going to want to use an 8 deep socket to remove all of these stud and bolts on the side to be able to get the valve cover to come off. But we also need to remove the coil pack. Coil packs are out of the way. Now there are 3 size 10 bolts to remove. One right here. It actually holds a knock sensor. That's just to get it out of the way, so when you go to remove this, not in the way. And then we've got 2 here. Which hold this bracket. These are the connectors that connect to the O2 sensors. And those are just nuts on top. So now we can go around with an 8mm and loosen all of these all the way around, and then be able to pull the valve cover the valve cover off. We'll want to take the dipstick out. And then, if everything is loose, and these bolts don't come all the way out, they're designed that they hold in there. And that's the removal of the valve cover to be able to get to the valve cover gasket that we are going to replace. So we've got the valve cover gasket. It's flipped upside down. We've cleaned it up pretty well. We now got to remove the old gasket out. And so you're just going to get in here and just pull it out. You also have a portion of a gasket here. And here. And there. So there's 4 different little gasket pieces. Then we do our best to clean this up a little bit by getting some of the oil out of there. Okay, so you take your new gasket, just once you find the right orientation here, so you can put it around, and it's got this little indent that will go around each of the little screws, or where the bolts go through. We also have the other 3 that go in the middle there. Same thing. So that's the new gasket is been installed into the valve cover gasket. And now we can proceed to put it in the car. So this has all been cleaned up all the way around, just by cleaning it. If you need to scrape anything off, go ahead and do that. But this has all been cleaned up. Now, just for my own peace of mind, I'm going to put a little dab of gasket maker right here, and this is where the timing cover bolts to the engine itself. And on the back side also. Okay, we've got the gas or the valve cover all lined up, and we're going to want to start these screws. And we want to tighten these fairly just in a pattern, working on the corners and then in. And so I'm just bringing the bolts into contact where there's a little resistance. Any there? And then I'm going to go to this corner here. And just keep working on a nice kind of zigzag pattern. Bringing it down more and more every time. Don't forget, you got 2 bolts in the middle here. And now you'll just go back around, because we just brought those down, and bring them all snug, not crazy tight. But you want to tighten all of them at the same, within the same tightness. All right, that should all be very good and tight. So now we just got to work around and put all the electrical connectors back where they go. Put that wire there. Put this knock sensor back on, and that is the size 10. We also have this bracket that holds the connectors for the O2 sensor. We want to put that on. Okay, knock sensor screw bolts is in. These 2 caps are on, or 2 nuts are on top that hold this bracket. Now just drop all your coil packs back in the hole. We've got this connector to put back in here, and then make sure that we put the boot on. Okay, we got our 4 number 8 bolts to put back in to tighten the coil packs onto them. Okay, put that in. Just make sure you put all the electrical connectors that were undone, connect them all back up, the coil packs as well, and then this cam position sensor. Connector, and reroute your stuff and anything that you had to move out of the way. And this is the cam position actuator. Now this one you press and then you hit the lock button, and then everything back on, and the ECU connections, and that's how you replace your valve cover gasket. Don't forget to put your dipstick back in. That's how you replace the valve cover gasket.